Diablo 2 is a game about equality. It doesn't matter if you are a sorceress, a druid, or even a barbarian. We all look the same on the Deeds of Valor screen. All of them work their way through demons, the undead, and even Rule 34 in the quest for loot. Fortunately, we have access to a wide variety of classes and builds to get us through all that. But what if we didn't? What if we used the Arctic set? With our gear maxing out at level 2 and its most powerful ability being giving us a bunch of magic find to find items we can't use and no damage, could we devise a plan to turn this Amazon into the most powerful maiden in Sanctuary? Well, that's what we are going to find out in today's video as we brave 15 acts in an attempt to beat Baal, the Lord of Destruction. The run starts off with creating our character and a massive grind all the way up to level 2, which we achieve mere seconds out of the Blood Moor. And this is where the first of the game's lies come forward, while we are perfectly able to equip both the armor and the belt. The gloves are a different story, cause they have a whopping 45 strength as a requirement, which is just too much for level 2. The bow is even more of a deception with its additional 55 dexterity required. So let's go and give the stats screen a look just to see how deep the game's deception has gone. 45 strength, so we are 20 off, and 55 dex, meaning we are 30 dex off, so 50 stats in total, at 5 stats per level, so 10 levels. My day and immersion are ruined and I think everyone on the planet should uninstall the game due to this blatant blasphemy. After clearing the Den of Evil, I've gained some levels and get to the 45 strength requirement for the gloves. Rakanishu turns out to be a ravishing good time and I get to level 9 and get to equip the bow, cause 1 plus 10 is 9 of course, I know how to math. So with our final gear mostly figured out, let's see what we are working with. The bow has a whopping 9 to 21 damage, additional attack rating, 20 to 30 cold damage and attack rating per level. The armor has the highest defense in the game, I'm not even kidding, 305% enhanced defense, good thing too, it gets to 75 as is, and gets defense per level. The more important part though is that it has 10 resist all and 15 cold resist. The gloves have 10 increased attack speed, 20 life, 50 attack rating and 10 dexterity, which is why I got to wear the bow 2 levels earlier. The belt is the best part, with its 40 cold resist, additional 10 cold res as a set bonus and a whopping 40 magic find, which doesn't look impressive, but you'll see throughout this run that even a little bit of magic find gets you a ton of items. For wearing the full set we get maximum cold damage per level, a whopping 5 strength, 50 life and cannot be frozen, which honestly for level 2 is pretty damn amazing. There is a very obvious cold theme going on, so I'm just going to lean into that by putting my skills into Cold Arrow, the rest I'm putting into the usual One of Wonders. The first gear upgrade comes in the barracks. When I find a second Arctic's belt, which turns out to have an additional durability left, I immediately equip it, cause I know life is all about the big jumps in power. Next up is dealing with the smith and give Charcy her hammer back. Magic Find starts proving itself straight away after I deal with Andariel. On her death, the pile of great uniques I can't use starts off with Blood Fists and a Blood Crescent Scimitar. I would love both of these, but I can't unequip the Arctic set, so instead of being amazing, they are useless. In the Act 2 desert, a Grand Charm falls to the floor. Now normally I wouldn't bother showing this, but it turns out to be a 9 all resist Grand Charm, which is an amazing find. As expected, the set intended for the very early game does very well in said early game, so I pick up the Horadric Cube and clear the Maggot Lair, no problem. I did get lonely in the desert though, so I went ahead and hired Pratham for some company. My cold feet needed some boots, so at level 19 I went ahead and used my Imbue. Now if you're playing along, wait with the Imbue until level 19, it opens up stuff like rolling into 20 faster run walk. I didn't get the 20, but I got 10, some faster hit recovery and a sweet 22% fire resist, which will be perfectly serviceable for normal. My resists are looking pretty good, considering I'm only in Act 2 normal and not wearing a shield. But like I mentioned earlier, this set is intended for the very early game, so it had better be good through that. I am still very worried about how my 34 to 101 damage is going to clear hell though. We don't have to worry about that yet though, that is a problem for future me. For now, we've also unlocked Ice Arrow. It's an arrow and it does everything you would expect an Ice Arrow to do. It deals cold damage and freezes stuff. It's all very complicated, but I'm sure that everyone that has ever played a video game is grasping the complexities. The Tal Rasha's tomb is the first of many areas that starts to overwhelm us, meaning that just like me, this set has peaked very early in life and has a long and hard way to go. Cause if Act 2 is already starting to become a problem, this is going to be a rough ride, and not in the good sense. The Duriel fight involves lots of Pratham being treated as a punching bag until he can't take it anymore. I do have to admit though that he made me proud. He lasted way longer than I expected. Boreal hits like a truck and bosses do more damage to mercenaries, so him even lasting till halfway through the fight should get high praise. I'm sure it will serve him well in death. Upon his demise, it's time for me to do the time-honored tradition of running away from the giant bug and praying he doesn't catch up to me while shooting at him and hoping it's enough. His death results in a rare ring and a unique large shield. Just like before, I can't use the shield, but the ring is decent enough, so I'm going ahead and equipping that. The big hitter he dropped actually turned out to be the scimitar, which rolled 202 poison damage, more than my entire set does. That is insane for this early in the game. It also made me have a revelation. Dear God, the level 8 rare does more damage than my entire set does. I'll be honest, dear viewer, this train of thought worries me and keeps me up at night. While I can't use the shield, Narshe, who I hired in Act 3, most definitely can, so I give him the shield, forget to give him the sword and pretend that any of the melee damage on his gear helps with him casting his spells. It doesn't, but I need to believe. In the jungle, I pick up a rainbow amulet of strength. The 10 resist all is a welcome addition. A pair of set-like gauntlets falls to the floor as well. These don't turn out to be a replacement for my mittens. Instead, they turn out to be Irathas. Not gonna lie, I wish I could use that set instead, cause it's actually pretty strong. But I've already completed that run, so that dream has perished. I didn't farm the counters this run, but during Act 3 I end up completing a stealth for Narshe. None of the mods on it matter except for the 25% faster cast rate, but it's more than good enough to wear. Oh, I should probably also mention this. I hired a fire mercenary cause I deal cold damage. Seemed dumb to hire another cold damage dealer. The Git bin results in a ring that has 26 mana, which is a nice quality of life upgrade and 19% poison resist. The quest for finding every great item I can't use continues on with the chain gloves that drop from the witch doctors. These are Cleglaw's gloves and they are amazing. Seriously, if you've never tried them on a ranged character, go ahead and give them a try. You won't be disappointed. The council doesn't have cold resist, so I go ahead and shoot them. The Mephisto fight has a bunch of close calls, but with my resistances being as good as they are, I felt confident that I could just stand there and tank the shots. Iswal is the first fight that starts to show that the damage on this set is, let's call it, lacking. The fight took forever, but I did end up getting my 2 skill points. The Hellforge gets me a tier rune and some gems. Nothing too special, but I know people like it when I show it, so here you go. Apparently living in hell means you don't need to have a lot of cold resist, so I can work my way through the Chaos Sanctuary without too many problems. The Diablo fight is just a matter of picking my moments and getting in the rhythm. After each of his attacks I fire a few cold arrows his way until the dance with the devil ends in his demise. Speaking about demises, I go ahead and deal with the Overseer in Act 5 as well. I'm not using the socket I get as a reward just yet. I'm going to save it for later, but it's good to have the prep done. The second quest requires me to save the barb, and as a reward I get to hire Klaatu. I don't know what happened to Barada and Nikto, but I'm sure they'll be somewhere around fighting the Army of Darkness. This guy actually gets to use both the Blood Crescent and Dariel dropped and the 208 poison damage scimitar Duriel dropped. He immediately proves his worth as he starts shredding Eldritch while helping me to grind some levels. A recurring theme makes a comeback when the rare plated belt drops to the floor. It's much better than the one I'm wearing and I would happily wear that all the way to Act 5 Hell, but I still can't. I did the level grind to unlock Freezing Arrow, which will be the main skill of the run. Once again, it's the most complicated of rocket sciences. Freezing Arrow freezes enemies. It also deals cold damage. The freeze on this is amazing though. It's some of the best crowd control in the game. It's able to stop entire packs of monsters on the spot, making them easy targets. The rare amulet Eldritch dropped has 15 resist all, so it's a nice upgrade over the 10 resist one I'm wearing. During the grind for more levels a unique studded leather drops as well. Twitch Throw is a nice little early game armor, which I can't use, but Klaatu definitely can. I was grinding those levels to get points into Pierce, which again is just the most complicated thing on the planet. So yes, it pierces things, just like you would think it would. With the grinding done, I go ahead and save Anya for her 10 resist all. Klaatu learns the truth about meeting your heroes and being disappointed as he easily tanks the ancients, allowing me to shoot them. The minions of destruction are a great showcase of just how good Freezing Arrow is. Except for Lister, all of them are fully frozen and just awaiting their death. Oh, by the way, I also picked up the Valkyrie skill along the way. She's basically a second mercenary. Bale ends up dropping a unique giant sword, which is Kinemal's awful. I've used it before on a Holy Fire Paladin, but except for memes I can't recommend it. With normal cleared without too many problems, it's time to head into Nightmare. So far things have been going well, but I can't imagine the level 2 set keeping this up much longer. Ignoring the worrying feeling in my stomach, I go and delete Corpse Fire. My questing continues with saving Kain, which I obviously do for questing reasons and definitely not just for the rare ring Akara gives me as payment. All kidding aside, the ring is solid, 27% cold resist and 8 magic find is very fitting with the rest of the build. Looking at our resistances, the cold is maxed out thanks to our new ring, so as long as we don't have to ride the lightning, we should be fine. Good thing I'm sure we're not encountering any souls ever. With the Kain quest completed, I quickly go and work my way down the tower for the Countess quest, which also gets me a Talon Tool rune as a reward and a look into an even more horrible run that is still lingering in my future. While clearing the smith and grabbing the hammer, a 4-socket partisan drops to the floor. I decide to use my imbue to try and see what I get for a helm, cause I've just been using a magic finding helm. It gets +2 to passive and magic abilities, but I don't like it enough to use it. Instead, I decide to make the rune word ground, cause just like in Pokemon, ground is immune to lightning, so this helm gets you a ton of lightning resist. It's also totally better than just slamming 3 odds in a helm. Gambling is always a great responsible decision, so if you or any of your loved ones still has any earthly possessions, just grab them while they are asleep, sell all of them on eBay and go ahead and get gambling. Following my own advice, I traded everything I own for a 27% lightning and 22% poison resist ring. Honestly, worth it. I also go ahead and make an insight in the partisan. It has a ton of damage, but more importantly it has the level 16 meditation aura, which is a huge quality of life upgrade, cause as you can tell from my inventory, I am slurping mana pots like I'm getting sponsored by the company that makes them. In the catacombs level 4 I end up finding a 4-socket sword. For pre-buffing purposes I go ahead and put a spirit in that. I don't care about any of the stats on it, but the +2 skills allows me to summon a stronger Valkyrie. While this build has a great time with crowd controlling everything and just taking its time, giving everything the cold shoulder. Boss fights are a completely different beast. Even the Nightmare and Aerial fight, which usually isn't a very hard fight at all, involves a lot of running around and hoping she goes for the Valkyrie instead of me. She never does end up taking the bait, so it ends up with being a runaround until she goes down. In Act 2 I go ahead and hire Kasim. He gets a Twitch throw. Odd runes still totally aren't better than the rune word ground, so he gets that as well. For his weapon he gets the insight we made. Even though we are still just using gear intended for level 2, it's still doing well in Act 2 Nightmare as I go ahead and one-shot a bunch of monsters around Radamant and then deal with Mr. Zombie Man himself. This build is basically tailor-made for the maggot lair. Everything lines up perfectly and the arrows fly through. If I was ever to actually farm the maggot lair, this could very well be the build I would do it with. Fangskin is cold immune, but between Kasim and the Valkyrie he doesn't stand a chance. In the Arcane Sanctuary I randomly pick up a Soul rune, and I remembered that there are so many better rune words than ground, so I go ahead and make Lore, cause it has the lightning resist I love and also a plus skill. If you don't get why I didn't make this right away, don't worry, neither did I. The Duriel fight feels like I'm just running in a perfect circle until he goes by and down. He ends up dropping a lot of tools, but none of them are really useful for me. I do like the unique Tusk sword though. I want to do a zombie slayer build someday. But that is not this day. This is the day I'm doing the Arctics run. I can be racist to zombies later. Despite wearing level 2 gear, even in Act 3 Nightmare, I am just needing a couple of shots to kill even the mightiest of enemies. I keep expecting to just run into a wall and entering a world of sadness, but even halfway through the game, it is still going very strong. The rest of the act poses no threat whatsoever, so I make my way into the ruined temple, clear it out and deal with Icehawk Riftwing in the sewers, and give the council the Ice Age experience while I'm at it. The Magic Find decides to kick in again for the second half of the council, a Venom Ward and a Gore Shovel drop. In the Durance level 2 I also find a unique Cudgel, which is a weapon I would use if I ever wanted to make a demon destroying build. I don't know what I would do with it exactly, but this thing has 395% damage to demons, so I'm sure I would be able to figure out how to be racist to demons some way or another. My feeling safe almost betrays me as I go full Varsh the Stampede and immediately shoot at the dolls cause of being trigger happy. I live to tell the tale, but I need that to not happen again. Mephisto isn't able to break through the hired help, so while it takes me a bit to take him down, he does go down. Having definitely not done any foreshadowing ever, I randomly encounter souls in the Plains of Despair. Who could have ever guessed? It is so wild and unpredictable. Anyway, my lightning resist was fixed all the way back in Act 1, so I easily make my way through it. The Hellforge keeps true to its name and drops me a Hell rune. I just keep chugging along through the Chaos Sanctuary. Nothing here even comes close to being a threat. The Diablo fight, however, starts with a major jump scare. He opens up with a bone prison and lightning attack combo. I break out of the first one, but he locks me up again straight away. It takes me escaping 3 times before I'm able to make my getaway. Seeing how well it worked, he keeps up the onslaught of bone prisons. This time, however, it's Kasim that's the target of the split 'em up strategy. He ends up surviving and I end up escaping again. Finally getting into position, I start shooting freezing arrows at Diablo. From here on out he can't hit me anymore due to how the lightning is programmed, which means the rest of the fight is just a matter of time and ticking the moments away that make up a dull day. His drops are amazing: Sander's gloves, a rare coronet and a unique gothic bow. Just like before, I still can't use gloves or any other bow than the Arctics, so the most painful moment of the entire run is about to happen. Cause that bow is called the Gold Strike and it's really good. I want to use this item so bad, so having to sell it on a bow Amazon run of all things hurt me in a way I can't describe, and for the rest of the run I am going to have to work through those feelings. My therapy starts with working out the first of many anger issues by going ahead and introducing Shank to the Ice Age. Eldritch the Rectifier ends up dropping a set bassinet, which is Sazabi's mental sheath. It sounds really fancy, but this is basically lore for people who need fire resist. The Night Smoke Trash Socket drops is yet another item I would take over the Arctic's belt I am currently wearing. It has the same amount of resists as the Arctic's belt, but more belt slots, cause I hadn't mentioned this yet, but I only have 2 rows on the belt. The 3 versus 3 with the Ancients goes quite easily, and at this point I'm just surprised at how well this build is keeping up. I know Frost Maidens, which is what this build is called, are pretty strong, but I did not know they would take a level 2 set all the way into hell without even the slightest of problem levels of strong. Even though this is still just Nightmare, I am very much impressed. Lister is cold immune, but his friends are not, so I go ahead and freeze his minions while mine go ahead and take care of him. Bale's focus is just on my emotional support pets, so I get to deal with him no problems. He personally throws me back a single stage of grief with the rare Shaco and unique bassinet that drop, if only those could have been reversed. Darkside Helm, while being very boringly named, cause it's a black helmet being named the Dark Helm, which is just uninspired, is actually a good helm. I don't have the strength for it, but chance to cast Dim Vision is very powerful for AoE. On top of that, it also has 20 fire resist and cannot be frozen. I hadn't thought about it before, but this is a very underrated helm. Oh, by the way, I also remembered that I should save our 10 resists, so I did. Because I can't wear a shield this run, I go ahead and make a Ral Ord helm for the additional 90 resists. The hell fluffing continues with using my 2 socket quests on my bow and armor. At this point that I want you to take note of how I don't have the dexterity to wear the bow without having the armor equipped. This will become a relevant thing in about 30 seconds. For the armor socket I go with an Ord rune. And I put a shell rune in the bow. With my newfangled resists, it's time to hit the terror zones. I go ahead and work my way through souls for an hour until I hit level 68 and make my way towards hell. Remember what I said not even 30 seconds ago? The obvious thing when you barely have the stats to wear your gear is of course to not make it even heavier. So I go ahead and start with upgrading my bow. There were so many things I could have thought about why I was not wanting to do this. I didn't even have the requirements for the regular bow. The other thing I could have done as well is to actually look up the stats beforehand. I really need to get into the habit of doing that. Cause despite how much I would love to gaslight everyone and tell you this is the first time, it's most certainly not. This happens a lot. Next I go ahead and upgrade the armor. Defense is completely useless, but otherwise I would get piles of angry comments asking me why I didn't. So now I'll only get them about why I didn't do it again. I do have 2 respecs left though, so at least I can easily fix my problem, but I really should start thinking before I do things. Anyway, as usual, strength and dex for gear, rest into vitality. Skill wise it's the same thing again. 1 in the passive skills, max the Valk, a bunch of points into Pierce. The rest into freezing arrow and cold arrow just like before. The build was working way better than expected, so no reason to change anything. With that fixed, let's get into hell. And it starts off with the purest of greatness. Gut Maim over here is the only combination of resistances in the game that I just cannot kill. I deal cold damage, the mercs deal physical. It's not going to happen. There is a very easy solution though, just ignore him and move on, which is what I'm going to go ahead and do. The rest of the stuff in the Blood Moor all seems to go down no problem. I do manage to get frozen despite my cannot be frozen set bonus though. Don't know how that works. But the game had no problem lying to me at the start, so I'm gonna assume this is the game dumping on me for wearing what at this point is disrespectful gear. In the Den of Evil I end up dropping a Lum rune, which would be fantastic to make a smoke in. If I could use that. The rest of the den becomes the most brutal playthrough of this I've ever done. Corpsefire is not only cold immune, but he is also sporting the nice new summer of 2025 looks. His pale blue skin matches beautifully with the orange of the fanaticism aura. The zombies chew through the Valkyrie and Kasim in seconds, forcing me to lure them back one by one with the promise of candy. With enough of them down, we managed to take down the big man himself, not quite clearing the quest, but claiming it cleared it, cause it is way more climactic. Anything that isn't cold immune still just isn't a problem though. Rakanishu casually goes and dies off screen while I'm clearing things out for the Kane quest up ahead. In true gaming fashion, I too now have a well, that's never happened before moment. Diablo 2 maps are made out of tiles, and normally you don't see them connecting. However, here you do. I don't know what is causing it, but the map here just seems to have misspawned and is looking very buggy and messy. In my 25 years of playing this game, this is a new one, so I decide to tempt fate and just run in and see what's up, which makes my character disappear. It's looking pretty neat, but like I said, I have no clue what is causing this, so I decide to just move on. Treehead Woodfist is cold and physical immune, so just like the first time I encountered a monster like this, I ignore it, grab what I need and get out. Kane is hanging on to all the excitement in Tristram, so I go ahead and release him. Just as in Nightmare, this totally isn't just about the ring, and nothing will go wrong for him as long as the ring is good. Before going back to town, I find a set mesh belt, which makes me feel a little sad. The other belts I found are better than this, but still, gear upgrades look so enticing at this point. The ring I get from Akara is called Doom Grasp. I don't grasp what is good about this ring at all, so Kane's Doom is the only thing I am grasping onto as I go ahead and string him back up in Tristram. Boss fights in hell with this build are only one thing, and that is rough. Andariel mows down Kasim post haste, which leaves me with no other option than just recasting the Valkyrie every few seconds while shooting freezing arrows at her. Just like the first few times I fought her. There is a lot of running involved. I am not a fan, but I also never have to come back here to do this again, so I just push on till she tastes the cold taste of defeat. One of the strongest things about this build that I haven't even talked about is perfectly showcased at the Redimant fight. This build is godlike against things that revive other monsters, cause you shatter everything. So while this is usually a giant train wreck with things getting revived over and over again until the heat death of the universe occurs, instead now everything just goes away, and all I can say is that it is glorious. The Claw Viper Temple is filled with cold immunes, but as long as you manage to funnel everything through the small doors, Kasim and Co can combine to crush, conquer and control the battlefield with calculated coordination and cold-blooded precision, annihilating everything foolish enough to get in their way. On level 2, the march of the cold immune reptiles continues, but the result is the same as on level 1. It takes some stabbing, but Fangskin is no longer a top 5 company by the time we are done with him. In the tunnels of the maggot lair, advancing on still is no big deal as I shoot my way through the straight line of monsters doing their best to die as quickly and easily as possible. Poison mages in the palace cellar too slurp up my life total in no time, but as usual when I run into problems I just run away from them. The Arcane Sanctuary is slow, very slow, but it's also just not risky at all. It takes forever, but I manage to make my way through it no problem. A big advantage of having thousands of people watch my videos is that I get to ask them questions like this. Why does the summoner sometimes have the unique monster font? What causes him to switch to the normal monster font? I've been wondering this for as long as Resurrected has existed, and I've never been able to figure it out. The tombs are more of the same. I'm not even taking damage while fighting, but everything takes forever to fuck off and die. Miss Valkyrie randomly triggering amp damage on the monsters speeds things up significantly though. Before heading into the Duriel fight, I want a different helm for Kasim, so I go ahead and clear out the ground in his mask and make a bulwark in there instead for its life leech and damage reduction. Since he has been struggling quite a bit, his armor is also getting replaced with a 30 resist all gothic plate I made all by myself. Thanks to his new gear, Kasim has a much better time against Duriel, and yes, this is better. He would normally get obliterated, no questions asked here. The fight ends up taking forever, but thanks to the 2 tanks, it's just a matter of time before Duriel dips to the floor. Duriel's drops don't look impressive, but he drops something I have been wanting to get my hands on for a bit, a flawless diamond. It's my third one, which allows me to make a perfect that gets me a much needed quality of life upgrade by making my light belt into a sharkskin belt, giving it the much coveted 16 slots for potions. Getting into the final axe, I really need to get my gear on point, so I decide to use my Hell Imbue, but it's a bust. So instead, and I would never recommend people to do this, but I go gambling. I end up with 39 fire resist boots, which is fine. I mean, not much more to say here, they are just, well, fine. One of the ways in the spider forest is blocked by a big group of unique thorned hulks. At first I try to get through them, but the fight ends up being miserable. It results in me deciding that the spider cavern won't be there. I have no reason to think so, but I just don't want to do this fight. I end up looking through the rest of the forest and finding everything but the cavern. So with a heavy heart I go back to the thorned hulks and run my way around them. In the cavern I end up finding a bunch of quest items in the jade figurine and Kaleem's eye. It takes a bit of kiting, but I end up finding a path back out through the thorned hulks, which means it's time to go and find the Flayer jungle. Now the worst case scenario here is that I end up getting a map that forces me into the Great Marsh and it has souls. However, that would never happen to me on purpose, I'm just demonstrating it here to make a point. 46 lightning resist is definitely on the lower end for this, but by taking my time and thanks to my two lovely assistants I take down the boss packs of souls and make my way through to the Flayer jungle. In there I go ahead and light the beacon and allow the team to do all the fighting, before I go ahead and claim the reward from Ormond. The Hell Quest rewards are just not hitting though, this ring isn't very good either. In the Flayer dungeon I find two things. First up, yet another weapon that is way better than what I'm using, but the big winner here and by far the best drop of the entire run is this ruby small charm of good luck. A Tis fire resist head magic find small charm is an amazing find. This is easily going to rot on a mule forever after this run. Having learned from my previous mistakes, in the sewers I take my time with the dolls to be safe and just shoot them from across the map to make sure they can't explode anywhere near me. I don't know why, but this build just keeps going. The council ends up being a very easy fight where everyone is just frozen in place until they die. The Durance goes the same way, between the crowd control and the support system. I can honestly highly recommend doing this if you want a really safe budget hardcore magic finding Amazon. The Maulers go ahead and drop a quilted armor, which is a grey form. It's a cool item, but it's a bit too late for that to be good. While this is definitely a very safe build, the damage at this point is falling off, every single fight is starting to take forever, but that's okay, the only goal is to make it to Hellbale. It doesn't matter if it takes an hour or if it takes 3 hours, nobody cares how long things take as long as you get the job properly done after all. For the first time in my life, I'm happy to almost find an Arachnid's Mesh in the Durance level 3. It's the best belt in the game and all, but I wouldn't be able to use it, cause of the whole doing an Arctic set run. So yeah, dodged a bullet there. The Mephisto fight is the same as the Duriel fight. Kasim and the Valkyrie easily tank the boss's attacks and together we whittle him down. The Hellforge gets me a Hell rune. Hell yeah. It's quite the surprise to me to see how well this extremely budget build does in the Chaos Sanctuary. I end up clearing it without any problems. Seriously, if you want to build a really budget magic finding Amazon, this is your girl. It's so much stronger than I ever would have guessed. Diablo ends up giving me quite the jump scare when he hits me down to a sliver of my health pool. But besides that little tidbit of a dangerous moment that could have ended very poorly, the rest of the fight goes as easy as the rest of the Chaos Sanctuary. Act 5 is all about running around cold immunes and just making it to the end. In the Glacial Trail I end up dropping a jewel that turns out to be a 15 max damage 15% requirements. I have no clue what this could ever be used for, but it sure looks really cool, and I'm sure the comments will let me know about this as well, cause they are really smart and beautiful and sexy, and definitely subscribe to the channel as well. You are, right? Don't worry, you can go check. It's okay if you weren't. I'll just run some footage of me running through the Ancients' Way while you get on that. The first attempt at the Ancients goes south fast. Kasim takes a dive in the first round, and it turns out Korlik is only interested in me. And while I'm flattered, it is a bit much, so I have to reset the fight. During the second attempt I am able to split off Korlik first, so we go ahead and 3-on-1 him. After his demise, Talik wastes no time getting into the same hopeless for them 3-on-1. I don't mind though, so down he goes. Madauk doesn't do much better, so with that the Ancients are cleared and it's time for the final push. And boy, what a push it's going to be. The Worldstone Keep starts off with surrounding me with cursed, fanaticism called immunes, so I go ahead and leave all of that mess far behind. The second attempt doesn't exactly inspire more confidence. The Minotaurs are aplenty and that lightning starts flying straight away. Deathlords, if you couldn't tell from the name, are extremely dangerous. They are so hard hitting that despite being able to tank the entire game, the Valk and Kasim go down almost immediately. I try and run away from them, but end up getting stuck in a corner. Having gone back to town, I still thought I had this, but I knew that when the axes came flying in my face, it was time to go ahead and take a bow out of here. Third time was the charm though. I end up getting a spawn of unholy corpses. They don't have cold immunity, so I can actually work my way through them. Well, there ain't no party like a Souls party, so level 2 goes ahead and delivers just that, but despite being cursed, I do survive yet again. In the throne room, I end up having to work my way through some more Minotaurs. This time it goes fine though, and we make it to the Bale minions. Just like in Normal and Nightmare, these are pretty free, so I might as well talk about the run for a bit. The Arctic set is a level 2 set, which is a lie. You can equip it at level 9. But besides that, this set did much better than expected. The 40 magic find helps a ton in finding upgrades for your gear. I was expecting a lot of trouble on this, but this was definitely the correct way of building it. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want the most budget of budget bow Amazons, this is as good as any place to start. And after almost 10 minutes of shooting at him, everybody's rule 34 tentacle monster goes and vomits a bunch, and I am done with 13 of the 33 sets in the game. A big thank you to the channel members and Patreons, a big thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.